Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday morning, everyone. Good morning, Forrest. Good morning, Salty.
Good morning. Can you see my comment in chat?
No.
I think I linked the wrong YouTube. I don't know what. For some reason, on the desktop, I can comment, all day long. It's letting me, and I just connected my YouTube to StreamYard here, but when I typed into the message, because before I could never type back to chat. So now it's letting me, but I see it, but you guys don't see it. So I don't know.
That is interesting.
Uh-huh.
Good morning, B. Good morning.
Good morning, V. Welcome in. So you guys, if you're ever wondering why I'm not typing back in chat sometimes, it's because if I'm on my phone, I have to just address it vocally. It won't let me type back.
Right.
Go to the desktop, it will.
So how's your weather looking there in Florida today?
Right now, I got a little bit of an overcast sky, but it's not cold. It's not windy. It feels pretty good out here. We've had some pretty curious birds coming in right now, like these northern mockingbirds are here, and they're so cool. They'll be singing at night. I love to come outside and just sit and listen to the birds. Like, I don't want a bird in a cage. That's not how it was meant to be. I want to go outside and hear them freely flying around.
Yeah.
So,
When I lived in Southern California, we had a mockingbird that lived on our macadamia nut tree.
oh,
That damn thing would go off at like 2:00 in the morning and wake me up out of a dead sleep.
really? Yeah.
Good morning, Dizzy.
I've had some.
Good. Thanks for popping in, Dizzy.
Oh yeah, welcome in, Dizzy. It's been a minute since we've seen you around. Welcome in.
She was in the other day. I think my last episode she popped in. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we love to have the community come in, and so yeah.
Saturday morning at the grocery store, though, or whatever.
Oh my God, I don't do Saturday morning at the grocery store, girl. You gonna have your hands full, aren't you? My son thought, because I have plans to go grocery shopping tomorrow afternoon after my stream or whatever. And then I told you my grandson didn't want to go. He wanted to stay home with me. And since my son is a pretty good grocery shopper, I was like, well, you just go. And so he was thinking about going today. I was like, dude, it's Saturday. Do you really want to go? He's like, you go by yourself.
Right.
Can hardly find parking. But I know that some people, I will pray for you. I know that a lot of you guys can't get out to the grocery store until Saturday, busy week, work life, mom life, husband life, whatever you got going on, taking care of family members and stuff. It's hard to do all that and squeeze it in.
Good morning, Hot Pocket. Welcome in.
Good morning. Yeah, welcome in. Look at you, Forrest. You're a mod over here now too. You're awesome.
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm. It's like I didn't even ask. I just clicked on his name and I'm like, make mod.
You didn't know, but that happened to me and Firefly and Dan one time. Somebody modded us up and we're like, what? He's awesome. I love him.
Yeah, I've got some interesting topics today. Since tomorrow's the Super Bowl, I wanted to get into the NFL's relationship with sex scandals.
Tomorrow's the Super Bowl?
Yeah, tomorrow's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't keep up with it, so I don't have a clue. I know, wait a minute, I did know because I've been accidentally trolled JLR because I found out that the other day he was here when we had all of our snow because, he's down central Florida. So he come down here and made a video about all of our snow and kind of got lost. And I'm laughing watching the video. And then he dropped another one yesterday visiting Pensacola Beach on his way to the Super Bowl. I was like, dude, if I'd have known you were here again, I'd have been at that beach. But like, hey, JLR, what's up? Why are you blocking me on the Twitter?
Right.
Can we go live right now together?
How about I just go live?
I got a love-hate with him. I love him though. I mean, I got that love-hate with JLR. I'd have played that part so well. I'd have been, what's up, dude?
Good morning, Sujoy. Welcome in.
Hope you all are having a great morning and plenty of coffee.
Oh man, I'm still working on getting enough in me.
Me too.
I've been going over this probable cause affidavit in that Lafayette massage parlor thing, and it's crazy. It's a little bit graphic, so I got to skip some of those parts when we go through it. Plus, it's long. It's 14 pages long, and I'm not.
Well, you need to throw up a banner with a content warning, and then just try to be sensitive when you're reading, like I try to be. But sometimes you got to read the documents for what they are, and that's why I try to make sure people understand viewer content discretion advised. This is true crime. Things get yucky. We read some really disturbing things in these PCAs, don't we?
Yeah. There we go. I've got that.
Good deal. There you go. See, comments made by the host are not legal opinions or statements. I like that, Joe.
Warning, some content may be graphic in nature.
There you go.
And we're going to hit some of that graphic content when we get to the end of that. But first, I found an article yesterday where there's been a little boy missing in Lafayette for almost 5 years. How have we not heard about this?
That is so insane.
And there are so many similarities to that case you were telling me about yesterday. I'll let you, remind us about that case. And there's some differences too, though. But this is in the Journal and Courier. This is February 6th. That's just 2 days ago. A day and a half ago is the first I've ever heard of this. So Delaware County, pretty sure that's on the east end of the state, like around Muncie area. Yeah, Muncie, Indiana. There we go. Don't need to stress my memory out. It's right there. Who has been missing for years. Local authorities are trying to find a missing 9-year-old Muncie boy. So is that he would be 9 years old today? I think so, because these pictures of him, what a beautiful, fun little boy.
He looks younger in the pictures than he does.
Definitely.
So he'd be 9 now. How long has he been missing?
Well, we're about to get to that.
Okay.
Local authorities are trying to find a missing 9-year-old Muncie boy. That task is complicated by the fact that the last verified sighting of Hayden Morris came in 2020.
Damn.
The person perhaps most likely to know where the boy is, his father, Dustin Gary Michael Manis, is dead. The 33-year-old Delaware County man died in December as a result of a drug overdose. And that is a problem in Delaware County. Muncie, Anderson, and Southern Indiana are like your biggest hot spots for that.
Yeah, but did that guy if that guy done something and now he's gone, they may never find this child.
There is a clue that we'll see later on in the article, though, that hopefully that helps them to find this little boy.
Okay, good.
Members of the extended Manis family made Delaware County Sheriff's deputies aware of the boy's disappearance last September. Dude, that's 4 years after your last known sighting. And
I mean, yeah, if I've got a family member and I can't get if I can't reach them and I don't know where they're, and I don't know what's going on, I'm not going to wait 4 years to look into it.
Relatives said they hadn't seen the child since a family gathering on Christmas Eve of 2019.
I wonder if the guy just took off with the kid and didn't have contact with the family and they really didn't know how to reach him. Like over in the Adam Montgomery case, when we were talking about Crystal, the Harmony's mother had tried so many avenues to reach out to him and he had blocked her on everything. Right. So I wonder if this guy did something similar.
Yeah, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I mean, it's going to be tragic for them too, but there's got to be something more to that. Since that time, we have worked diligently to investigate all leads, execute multiple search warrants, and conduct numerous interviews. Since that time, so he's talking about when family members notified them in December. They've been working since December, but not since 2019, 2020. So when he says since that time, he means since family members notified him like Christmas.
Right.
5 years after the last time they saw the little boy. We have worked diligently to investigate all leads, execute multiple search warrants, conduct numerous interviews. Investigators later found witnesses who had seen the boy as recently as 2020. Not much better. Stanley acknowledged.
I wonder if they checked his school records and found out when the last time he was at school.
If he hasn't been seen since 2020, he was 4 to 5 at the time. He probably wasn't.
He may not even wasn't in school yet. You're right. Yep. Okay.
Stanley acknowledged the long delay in learning that Hayden was missing makes the investigation all the more difficult. You think? That's our frustration. That they waited so many years to come forward. Yes, that's frustrating.
It is frustrating, but I wonder, did he just cut ties and know they didn't know how to reach him? Because if he was
He couldn't have cut ties
abusing
completely, though.
drugs,
We're about to find out he didn't cut ties completely, though.
okay.
Delaware County Prosecutor Eric Hoffman on Thursday called the missing boy's father the primary person of interest. Dustin Manis told sheriff's investigators that the Indiana Department of Child Services had taken Hayden from him in 2022. That's a familiar story I've heard before. And placed the boy in the custody of his mother.
Okay,
authorities have determined that never happened.
Okay, so when the family reported the boy to the police, the father was still alive.
Yes.
And they were able to interview him. And then he claims that DCF took the child.
He died around the same time that the family reported it. So maybe he actually died and the family's like, wait, where's the boy at? Because he died in December of 24.
The dad?
He just died this last year.
Okay, so he was, that's what I'm, but how did the authorities talk to him to find out DCF took the child? Or that he claimed that DCF took the child?
That's a good question. So he was interviewed at some point. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Dustin Manis has a history of substance abuse, and Hayden as a baby in 2016. So yeah, he would be 9 if he were still alive today. That's 9-year-old looking for 9-year-old boy. Dustin Manis had a history of a substance abuse, and Hayden as a baby in 2016 was placed in the care of his paternal grandfather. When Dustin was convicted of possession of a narcotic drug in Blackford County, the boy was later returned to the custody of his father.
Well, it's easy enough to verify if DCF removed the child from his father's care. And if they did, where did they go from there?
That didn't happen.
Okay, they checked. He lied.
Yep. On November 23rd of last year, a Muncie police officer pulled over Justin driving a sport utility vehicle for a traffic violation. The officer asked him why he seemed nervous, almost to the point of fear, according to an affidavit. Manis said he had recently been questioned by law enforcement about his missing son. Manis, then listed at an Eaton address, was determined to have heroin and a syringe in his pocket. Go figure. And meth was also found in a cigarette pack. He was charged on December 4th with possession of a narcotic drug. 9 days after those charges were filed, he was released from the Delaware County Jail after a family member posted bond.
When Joe was reading, they said that at some point DCF took the child back to the father from the grandfather, right, Joe? She's asking.
Yes.
Who says
he was transferred from the grandfather back to the father at some point.
So at some point he must have met whatever criteria DCF laid out for him to get the child back. Adam Montgomery did the same thing. They'll do whatever it takes to get the kid back, and then they start screwing up again. And just from the little tiny bit we know, when this guy having a history of drug use and already lying about DCF coming and taking the child, I feel like he knows exactly what happened to that child.
Yep. Just red flags, red flags.
Yeah. Whether he did something on purpose or accidentally, there's no excuse for an accidental killing of your child, because you shouldn't have been doing anything to your child that would cause you to accidentally kill them to start with. But it happens. And I wonder which one it was. You know what I mean? What happened? Did you just neglect the child until he passed? Or, gosh, these poor kids end up with these sorry parents.
And we hear like very similar stories time and time again.
Time and time again. That's what I was telling you with the pushback that it takes sometimes. Here in Florida, we had a case very similar. Someone finally realized this little girl was missing. And DCF did have control of this child. And for, over 2 years, they could not account for her whereabouts. DCF couldn't. And then when the investigation was finished, this little girl was no longer with us. And the public here in Florida got really pissed off. Like, what are y'all doing? You know, you want our support. You want us to help all these children, but then y'all get them and you're placing them. You don't even know where. You're not. They found out that the workers weren't following up. They didn't go do home visits. You know, nothing was done. But yeah, it took a lot of pushback and a complete overhaul of the Florida DCF. They started going back and investigating other things. And now we have a very good system in place, pilot programs and all kind of things. So and they're doing the same thing over in the Adam Montgomery case, taking a hard look at DCF over there. When I say DCF, Department of Children and Families, I know it's labeled different names throughout the country, different states, but they're doing the same thing because something happened there as well. Once they took control of Harmony, they made a bunch of mistakes and they're being sued. So yeah, you're right, Joe. It happens far too often with DCF being involved, you know, even returning kids to families they shouldn't be returning them to.
Yeah, and there's a recent high profile case which is almost the exact same story of them claiming that DCS took the children when they never did. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what that was. I watched so many of these true crime cases.
Well, I know they start to run together, and you know,
Yeah.
and then when you hear about the horrible cases where kids were removed for such minor things, you know, a marijuana smoker or somebody vindictive made a complaint, or just, I mean, we've heard too many stories where children were removed for very minor reasons and the families weren't given the opportunity to whatever comply. And I mean, we could pull those stories up, but then you hear these stories where they're giving kids back to families that shouldn't. It's like, what's really happening here, and what kind of training are these DCF employees receiving? You know, if you go on Facebook, for a long time there were ads, 18 months, complete the course and you can become a child protective services worker. Like 18 months, is that all it takes? I mean, that's a long time, but I think a lot of training needs to be put behind some of this stuff that's not there.
Yeah, and I think probably equally as responsible is the bureaucracy and the red tape and the lack of funds and the lack of resources in the department itself. Like, I'm sure there are people in DCS that really want to make a difference, and then they get hamstrung by a tiny budget, no resources, or bureaucratic red tape and nonsense. Where they'll say this child needs to be taken from this parent, and their supervisor will be like, nope, we can't do it. And maybe legally they can't, or maybe it's just a subjective decision that
you
never know.
You never know. And when you walk into a home where a complaint's been made, and you know, we've heard the stories where they walk in and the home is filthy and there's roaches everywhere and there's this and that, and you know, animal feces everywhere. I mean, I've heard of those cases, and you're like, oh my God, who could possibly live in those conditions and then put children in them, you know, and then they give them back. It's just, I don't know. That's a whole other conversation, and I know that, but I'll let you continue with what you're reading here.
All right. Yeah, we're almost to the end. So Dustin got bonded out by a family member from jail. They posted bond for him, and 9 days after that, he overdosed.
Wow. I wonder if they bonded him out in hopes that he would help, you know, because they know he's the key and knows he was the last one to see the child. So did they bond him out hoping for help, and maybe could talk to him, and he's feeling the pressure? Yeah, indulged a little too much there, or was it on purpose?
A lot of times those overdoses related to those types of drugs are not intentional. Like, he didn't go in there and say, I'm going to shoot myself up with twice what I usually shoot up. He's looking for his high. But
he might have, if he felt the pressure was coming down on him and he's facing prison, if they found out the truth.
That could be too. Yeah.
And you never know.
We're never going to know. No, we're never going to know, because now he's gone.
I know, right? Cowards.
Yep. Good morning,
You're a coward if you harm a child. You're a coward, and you're a double coward if you take yourself out afterwards to avoid. everything. Yes, good morning, Royal. Somebody new popped in too. Love Tina. Good morning.
She's been in chat before.
Has she? Maybe I've just not recognizing the name right off. Well, welcome back.
The search for Hayden has taken deputies to a variety of locations, including a home along Nancy Lane. In at least one search, cadaver dogs were reportedly involved. It's a good idea. Cadaver dogs can help a lot in these cases.
Yes.
We've been working this case day and night since September 5th. To this day, we have yet. Okay. So September 5th, he gets reported by family members. Then on November 23rd, so a month and a half later, he gets pulled over. He's nervous as hell. And he goes to jail, gets bonded out, and overdoses. So that may be it. It may have been the pressure may have got to him.
Yeah, he was exhibiting some, if he was nervous acting when he got pulled over, he's wondering, are they pulling me over to arrest me? Or, what's going down here? And you're already probably paranoid because of the drug use.
Yeah, and I had the husband of a family member that overdosed when he was in his 20s, fatally.
Mm-hmm.
The deal with that was he had gotten sideways with a drug dealer and they laced his drugs with something extra. And intentionally caused they never could prove it, but everybody knows what went down there. So if he's like out of money, he got bonded out of jail by his family, he has no job, he has no money. I mean, he may have gotten sideways with drug dealers. Or
could have. I mean, and addicts, unfortunately, they'll do whatever it takes to get their fix,
Yep.
And you never know what that might be. That's why I stay very aware of my surroundings, because you never know when someone's desperate. Do you know what I mean? So, there's no telling what he was doing. There's a lot of things these people on the streets can do for a quick fix.
We've been working this case day and night. We have yet to find Hayden alive and well, nor have we found his body. The fact that the police were not notified for over 4 years after the family last saw him has significantly hampered the investigation in many ways. True story. It has made it exponentially more difficult to get to the truth. Despite his father's death, the dad's death, this is an open investigation. It is far from over. You don't need to look too far back in local history to see that I do not give up in child abuse and neglect cases. It's quite haunting. Yes, I think I can speak for it. This sounds like a guy that cares. I think I can speak for everyone involved in the investigation that Hayden Manis is always on our minds. And he'll be on ours too. I hope he finds justice one way or another. What a beautiful little boy. So
sorry, I had to mute out. I was walking through the house. I didn't want you guys to hear my grandbaby on his meta quest, whatever it's called, yelling at his little friends. It's so funny to walk through the living room where he's at, 'cause he's got more space in there, because they get to moving around all kind of crazy, and I'm just sitting there watching him, and he's doing all kind of weird stuff, and I'm like, what is that child doing?
Good morning, 857. Good morning, Possum.
Oh, good morning. It's always good to see you.
So I don't know how to transition to the next topic, because the next topic I wanted to start out a little comical, but man,
I mean, hopefully, I don't know how, if the father did do something, all they can do is go back to his last known address, any of the people he may have been around, but if he did something, they're never going to find that child. It's going to be really difficult.
A very good possibility. I mean, we all know Indians. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, if he's responsible for it and he's gone now and nobody, I mean, how do you prove anything? How do you even find the child? If there wasn't somebody like in Adam Montgomery's case, we had, what's her name? The girlfriend who lied forever, but she knew everything. Was there a woman he was involved with? I don't know. If there's nobody that knows, then they're never going to find him. It would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Where do you even start, right? Poor thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many woods, so many backwoods, so many lakes, so many ponds. I mean, just
Well,
so
may
many
his little
places.
soul rest in peace. He's probably, I hate to say it like this, but if he was enduring things because of his father's abuse, drug abuse, whatever, don't know if he abused a child, but if he was enduring a horrible little life, he may be so much better off now.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I don't like people used to come up to me and say, well, she's in a better place. No, please stop saying that to people because her better place is here next to me. Right.
Hmm.
And it took
Hmm.
me a long time. And I know people don't mean anything by it. They mean well, but I understand it. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things, but maybe with his little, it's like Maddie Soto. They go through so much when they're abused that sometimes they just, that's the only thing you can do is put it in God's hands. It's sometimes if you're a believer, and
Yeah.
and take it for that. So if he's never found, I hope that he's found some sort of peace if he was enduring horrible things.
Absolutely.
Well, I wonder, did they ever find the actual mother? Do they know?
That article says nothing about his mother, so I
She
don't
was
know what part she
probably,
plays.
yeah. Oh, well, we'll see how that progresses.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be following, and if I get any updates, if we get any updates, then I'll let you know.
Yeah. We always like to get our follow-ups on stuff we've talked about if we see something come down about it.
So I'm going to go down a little rabbit hole now, and I know
Y'all
I
get
mentioned
your
it a couple
tinfoil
times.
hats on, tinfoil hats.
Tinfoil panties, Pokemon's tinfoil
Those
panties.
might not be comfortable.
But I usually stay in my lane, but I'm going to just like touch on Kohberger just a little bit, but just as it
Well,
relates to a
you
Supreme.
said you usually stay in your lane, but you're going to touch on him. What do you?
That's Kohberger's your thing. Like, like 100 times
Oh,
more than I
no,
know about
dude, he's
Kohberger.
fair game. Yeah, okay, you're good.
But this is as it relates to the Supreme Court case,
Okay.
California versus Greenwood, and the 1988 decision as it relates to collecting evidence out of trash cans. So first, I want to go down to 119 Lamb's Den Drive. Not Lion's Den. This is Lamb's Den Drive. So this is where his mom and dad bought a house in 2014. And I assume he lived with them while he was going to college.
Yes, he did. Look, this dude never left mom and dad until he turned 27, 28 actually, and moved to Washington in 2022 as a grown ass man.
So that's where it is. It's kind of like in the middle of kind of suburban Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Like, it's definitely not an urban area, and it's not quite rural, but it's pretty close to rural. Like, there's a lot of areas.
Close. So so it's close enough to town, but a little rural. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up there
And
near
there's
the
a bunch of
Pocono
small
Mountains
towns
and all
around,
that.
but yeah. So
Yeah.
Scranton's up here. Scranton looks like the nearest bigger city.
Okay.
There's Scranton just directly north of them, but that's
So
a little.
Strasburg is a little town very close as well. And that's where there's Albrightsville, Effort. He has ties in Effort. Effort and Albrightsville are almost one and the same. Albrightsville is Strasburg is where Dana went missing from. And Dana lived approximately East Strasburg's right there to the right. Yeah. Dana Smithers was found approximately 30 minutes from Kohberger's residence.
Towards
And
Strasburg?
That is, yes, I've got the location where Dana was found, and we're going to cover that eventually. But that's the grand jury that was impaneled in Pennsylvania. Now, this is what we, even from mainstream media news reports, that there was a grand jury impaneled in the Dana Smithers investigation, and Kohberger's parents were both subpoenaed to go testify at that grand jury. Why? We don't know. We have no clue. Nothing's come from it. Dana's sisters went silent. Because I'm in the Facebook group. So if there was anything to it, we have no clue. Honestly, I'm not putting it out there that he's tied to her death, but it was also stated in the Facebook group that he worked with her at some point, and Dana did have a problem similar to what Kohberger was experiencing with their extracurricular use of certain things. So did they know each other? There was a rumor they worked at the pizza place together at the mall. I don't know. So I'm gonna let you continue though, because this is interesting.
Sure. This is so this is just a single family residential subdivision, bedroom community, if you want to call it that. Somebody said it's a gated community. I would like to
Yes,
know
it
where that
is.
gate is. Where is that gate?
I don't know. It's supposed to be at the front of the neighborhood, I'm assuming.
Like, is it on his street exactly? I don't see any. No, there's no gate. Let me turn off road so we can see underneath.
Maybe, I don't know if, I'm not sure exactly where the gate was located, but allegedly it is a gated community. I've never looked for the gate, honestly. I just took law enforcement's word for it.
Right. So I'm going to have to bifurcate it just a little bit because
Okay.
there are a couple of different issues at issue with the Supreme Court case.
Uh-oh.
And
Are
the
you about to
first
go down a
one-
garbage rabbit hole?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
We
goodness.
are.
Oh, goodness.
All
I'm
right.
down for it. Okay.
So we can see that now. So I'm going to stop sharing that and I'm going to pull up deed and well, let's look at the Supreme Court case first. Let's take a look at that 1988 Supreme Court case. Let's look at it on OYIS. So California versus Greenwood, docket number 86684. So it was first litigated in 1986. It made it to the Supreme Court in 1988. On OYIS, you can actually hear the oral argument. It's only 50 minutes long, so it's not that lengthy, but just to give you an idea, you can actually hear the opinion announcement from the Supreme Court. So let's just listen to that just because it's kind of cool. It's only 39 seconds long.
The opinion of the court in two cases, number 86684, California against Greenwood, number 87339, City of New York versus Federal Communications Commission, will be announced by Justice White.
In California against Greenwood, which is here from the Court of Appeal of California, we reversed the judgment of that court. We have filed an opinion explaining why. Justice Brennan, joined by Justice Marshall, has filed a dissenting opinion. Justice Kennedy took no part in the case.
So that was kind of low. Sorry, the volume was a little bit low. But that's kind of cool that you can actually hear the Supreme Court announcement of the decision. But here,
So what exactly did they say and rule on, though? I mean, that...
Here we go. Facts of the case.
Okay.
Local police suspected Billy Greenwood was dealing drugs from his residence. Because the police did not have enough evidence for a warrant to search his home, they searched the garbage bags Greenwood had left at the car for pickup, not even a trash can, garbage bags. The police uncovered evidence of drug use, which was then used to obtain a warrant to search the house. That search turned up illegal substances, and Greenwood was arrested on felony charges. So the question at hand in the appeal to the Supreme Court, did the warrantless search and seizure of Greenwood's garbage violate the Fourth Amendment's search and seizure guarantee, the right against illegal search and seizures? Voting 6-2. So here's the conclusion. Voting 6-2, the court held that garbage placed at the curbside is unprotected by the Fourth Amendment. The court argued that there was no reasonable expectation of privacy for trash on public streets. So this is the wording that got my attention. For trash on public streets. Readily accessible to animals, children, scavengers, snoops, and other members of the public.
Snoops?
The court also noted. Go ahead.
He said snoops.
Yes, yeah. Children, scavengers, snoops, and other members of the public. The court also noted that the police cannot be expected to ignore criminal activity that can be observed by any member of the public. So there were two key phrases in there that got my attention. And when we get to the Justia summary of this, we're going to see that I'm wrong. But right now in this summary on this page on OYES, it says for privacy for trash on public streets. So my first thought was, is that a public street? Is that definitely a public street that's out there? Could it be a private street? And the fact that it's a gated community, can you say that it's actually readily accessible to the public? Having
I would
a
say
gate
so
there,
because, yeah, but you have other people who live within that gated community with you.
true,
So
and maybe those could search it, but they didn't. So if I'm just saying for the sake of argument, like if Anne really wanted to stretch this and she wanted to be like, is that or is that not a public street? And is his trash, quote unquote, readily accessible to the public? If there's a gate in front of it, could she stand up in front of the judge and argue that it's not, quote unquote, readily accessible to the public? So
I
these
don't
little
think so.
terminology things matter in court cases.
Yeah, but I don't think that would hold water.
Probably not. You're
Because
probably right. But
anybody can enter the gate with a code. Like when I delivered, if I was going to a gated community, they would give me the code. Boom, I got
the fact
access.
that,
I'm in there.
and I'm not arguing with you and saying you're wrong. I'm being devil's
Yeah.
advocate here. The
No,
fact
I
that you have
understand.
to
I'm
have the
debating
code.
it with you. We're
Good,
having a
good.
debate here. Let's do it.
Yes. Okay. The fact that
Arguments
you
in
have
court,
to
guys. Y'all object whenever y'all don't like it.
we're holding the court this morning.
Yes.
The fact that you have to enter a code means that it's not, quote unquote, readily accessible. It's restricted access. So, but we're going to find out I'm wrong in a minute anyway. So we don't have to debate it that far.
Damn it, Joe. I wanted to debate it with you. Nobody lets me have a good we're going to have pretend court one day because I want to be our lawyer and argue. I want to go
that's
argue
a great
for
idea.
Ann.
Yes.
I love a good argument, and it's like debate. Like I love to watch lawyers argue, and it's like, y'all just bring it, man. Bring me a show. Get up there, make me believe what you're saying. Be a storyteller.
So 2 issues. Is it a public, quote unquote, public street? And those are very clearly defined in state law. And there are 3 different kinds. There's public right-of-ways that are granted or dedicated. And then there are easements. And then there are prescriptive easements. So there are written easements, and then there are prescriptive easements. So let me show you a couple of.
V says the possums are worse than the feds. They are.
Oh man, we had a skunk problem once that was the worst.
For real?
If we didn't bag that stuff up and put it in a tightly closed trash can, the skunks would actually get into it. Not the coons or the possums, but the skunks.
Yeah. I just seen Forrest, so they had an issue with the bears. We do here. We have the black bears. I call them the bears of South Santa Rosa. They will run amok sometimes. Get all up in your garbage, in your yard, come after your little dogs. Y'all be careful in Florida. It's not really them gators you got to worry about so much down here as it is them bears.
All right. So here is the deed to their property. So I did some land records research yesterday going down this rabbit hole. Landex is the website that Monroe County, Pennsylvania uses. So you can find public records on there. I had to pay for them. It wasn't extremely expensive and it wasn't extremely cheap because every time you purchase one, you have to pay them $5. And so I didn't realize it till I had already purchased 3 of them. I'm like, crap, that's an extra $15 out of my pocket. But anyway, I got it. I got what I was looking for.
You guys, that's where donations to the channels come in handy.
So Maria Skedja. Wow. That's the first time I've ever seen. That's a lot of consonants in a last name.
Svedja. I don't know either. Is it Swedish?
It kind of looks like it might be.
Okay. So she owned it first?
Yes. And grantor. Okay. So the grantor conveys, grantees are Michael Kohberger Jr. and Marianne Kohberger, husband and wife. So why wasn't Brian Michael III? Does he have any brothers?
He's Michael Christopher Kohberger, not Michael F. Kohberger. So he's not
Where
a
does
third.
Brian come in?
What are you talking about? Brian is Michael's son.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So if his dad's name is Michael Kohberger Jr.,
Yeah,
why
but his
wasn't
name is
Brian?
Michael, because I'll tell you why. My kid is a junior. The names have to be exactly the same. It says right there, Michael F. Kohberger Jr. Kohberger's actual legal name is Brian Christopher Kohberger.
Right.
So if he was
So
named the same, if he was named Michael F. Kohberger, he would be the third.
right, and that's what I'm saying. I'm just curious from a human standpoint, from a
Oh,
dad's
so why they
standpoint.
didn't
Why
name him
I
that?
didn't name my why I didn't name my son the third? Yeah.
I don't know. My son said he wasn't going to do it. He's a junior, and he said he wasn't going to name his kid a third.
There you go.
So I don't know. It just depends. Ugh. I mean,
Got a table there. What are you doing down here?
For an in consideration of $138,000 in hand, $138,500 in hand paid, the receipt whereof is hereby acknowledged, grantor does hereby grant and convey to the said grantees, their heirs and assigns, all the following lots situate in the township of Chestnut Hill, county of Monroe, state of Pennsylvania, being more particularly described as follows, being all of lot 5,420 in section UU1, as shown and designated on the plan of Indian Mountain Lakes. So they're in the Indian Mountain Lakes development. And this is that plat. This is section UU1 of Indian Mountain Lakes. And when a developer develops a subdivision, especially a residential subdivision, but any subdivision, the jurisdiction, the local agencies are very, very specific about the language that they want to see on that plat. And 99 times out of 100, when you have public streets like this, so there's their lot right there. That's lot 5420. The agency has very specific requirements for language for dedication of streets. At least all of the agencies that I've seen, all of the plats that I've seen always have street dedication language on it that says we hereby dedicate streets to the public and easements, streets and easements to the public. So we're going to look at all of the language on this. So these are the local agency approvals from 1986. And then here's the specific language on the plat. So there's a vicinity map, location map, owner developer, how much area, it was 5-acre development, new road in section 4420 linear feet. Section is totally wooded. There's contours on there. There's soils on there. That's interesting. Covenants. Wells and sewage disposal systems shall be constructed in accordance. Surface disposals, wells shall not be located closer than 100 feet to any subsurface disposal. Township or its agents shall have the right to enforce covenants. Building setback lines, front yard, side yard, rear yard. All lots shall be subject to a utility drainage easement over the 20 feet adjacent to all streets. All corner lots shall be subject to a site roadway easement. Use of lots is limited to a single family residence. So there is nothing on here.
yeah, that trash was fair game.
Dedicating. Do what?
Yeah. So I think that trash was fair game.
Well, we're getting there. You got to work through my brain process here.
I am.
So,
I'm listening.
I read
you know
that.
me, though. I got a comment.
Okay. So you go to Oyez, and Oyez says that the Supreme Court decision said that's got the trash in a public street or a public road is fair game. And if I'm going to be a devil's advocate, I'm going to say, I don't know that this is necessarily a public road. I think there may be a prescriptive easement over that roadway. And prescriptive easement is different in each state, the requirements to be a prescriptive easement. But obviously, since 1986, that's been observed by the public as a quote unquote public road. But observation of a public road is not legally the same as dedicating or granting public right of way.
Okay,
And
so here, I
is
wonder
extensive
this,
for
though.
missing those.
Well, that guy we watched the other day in the video was talking about how now this is I can't confirm it because I tried, by looking up some stuff. But he said in Pennsylvania, they will subpoena and have the garbage trucks go in. Isn't it fair game to them because they always have access in there and they picked it up?
We're getting ready to go answer that question because
Okay.
Justia actually has a little more detailed summary of this case, and the wording is a little bit different. So they go over the basis of the case. It was a warrantless trash search. The Supreme Court held that the Fourth Amendment does not prohibit the warrantless search and seizure of garbage left for collection outside the curtilage of a home. Since respondents voluntarily left their trash for collection in an area particularly suited for public inspection, their claimed expectation of privacy in the inculpatory items they discarded were not objectively reasonable. Common knowledge, trash bags left on the street are readily accessible to animals, children, scavengers, snoops, and other members of the public. Moreover, this is the key language that has changed my mind on this. So this is my final word on it. I won't ever say anything about it again. Fingers crossed behind my back.
I'm on mute and I'm sitting here laughing at you. Go ahead.
Moreover, respondents placed their refuse at the curb for the express purpose of conveying it to a third party, i.e. the trash collection service, trash collector, who might himself have sorted through it or permitted others, such as the police, to do so.
There you go.
That's it. That is the key phrase that was missing from the OYA's summary of this. That's like, all right, they had the trash collector pick it up and they got it from the trash collector. The Supreme Court says that is okie dokie.
And that lines up with that guy saying they would send in trucks, garbage trucks. And like I said, if you're actively watching a suspect, I'm pretty sure if I put my cans to the road, which they go out early in the morning, my garbage guy comes early in the morning. They're going to have to know that, right? If they're just wanting to walk up and willy-nilly get in there. But I'm going to notice it because right outside my bedroom window, and it's always open in the mornings, I can see my garbage cans. I'm going to see you walk up and go into my garbage can. And I'm coming out the front door and asking you, what the heck you doing? You got a badge? What do you, if you want to see if I got anything good I threw away, fine, I'll let you have it. But so to be unseen, wouldn't it make sense to send a garbage truck in there to collect that garbage and bring it right out to you?
Yep.
That way they have, because if you look at that map you were showing of the residents, I did that in the very beginning when it was confirmed they were surveilling him. I've lived in 30 years ago, 25 years ago, we lived in an area and there was a guy across the street that you didn't even look at his yard sideways. You didn't even walk on that side of the street and touch his grass. He's very particular, right? We go to leave our house one night and there's a car sitting in his yard facing, in a little parking pad he had, facing a home where I knew certain activities went down. And I thought, who the heck's parked in that old man's yard? Well, as we went to pull out and our headlights hit that car, you could see somebody in there lean back, hoping we didn't see them. But I saw his silhouette. And I knew right then what they were doing. They were watching somebody. So I go back to that every time I think about surveilling people. And so when I went to the map, I was like, where did the cops hide to watch Kohberger? And I couldn't see any legitimate spots to do that without being seen. So then we found out recently, though, they went in there with the drones. But how did they know he was in his room or in that house walking room to room with those gloves on? How did they see that? Did the drone be able to zoom into the windows and see that? Or
not unless it hovers down at eye level.
Right. They may have managed to get, because they'll talk to neighbors, because that, I'm telling you, that undercover cop he definitely was, the guy got busted. So that undercover cop had to approach that homeowner and say what they wanted him to allow them to do. Because otherwise you're not parking in that man's yard for no reason, right? He knew they were out there and he let them. So I wonder if they approached one of the neighbors and
there's one that's right across the street.
Yeah, slid up in their driveway like company and they're, and that's how they started Yep, that's the only way I can think of they had done it without being
Otherwise,
seen.
you're sitting in a tree in the backyard. You're hiding in
Right,
those
right,
woods.
exactly. Yeah, you got to put your mind in the head of an investigator, and knowing that when I seen that one car that one time that I knew they were watching, and then the guy ended up getting busted. It's like I knew nobody would even look at that old man's yard the wrong way. So I know he was aware they were out there. So it makes sense to me then, well, did they approach a neighbor and do the same thing? Sit in their driveway and surveil from there. Because they knew he was
Morning,
jogging
Patch
around the
Jessica.
neighborhood and all that kind of stuff too. They have their ways. They certainly
Yeah.
have their ways to surveil us.
Yeah, they do. Let me look at that plat.
Fly a fixed wing plane over your rural home and take pictures.
All
They'll fly
right.
over. They'll fly over and look for the heat to see if you're a grow house.
Oh yeah. And they'll check your
Yeah.
electric bills too to see if your
Oh
electric
my
bill-
goodness, they will. If that
Yeah.
electric bill's super high, then you doing some nefarious stuff in there with some green leafy substances.
All right. Now I can get to the lighter thing I was going to do earlier. We're going to get into a little bit of the NFL right here. I've got a playlist, and I'm going to pretty much let the playlist play itself out because it's kind of like chronological story to story. We're going to start with Antonio Brown, and it's a pretty.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, before you get started, I've been watching everybody's little conversations about the raccoons, and y'all are cracking me up. They're good. They're good conversations. They're chilling. They're listening to us, but they were having their little raccoon conversation. So we're going to go into the NFL stuff now.
Yeah, and the first story is Antonio Brown. Somebody mentioned
Okay.
it in chat the other day, and I didn't remember it, and it is a totally silly story, but I couldn't play it earlier, but now we can transition to that. Good morning, Rebecca Ann. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for hanging with us in chat. Have a nice, casual Saturday morning chat. Here we go. This story cracks me up. Let's maximize that.
A Pittsburgh doctor is the latest filing a lawsuit against former Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown. Monroeville's Dr. Victor Prisk says in the lawsuit, Brown owes him $11,500 in unpaid fees. In addition to that, the New York Post says the doctor claims Brown repeatedly passed gas in his face and laughed about it. TMZ obtained a video of an appointment of August of last year where Brown can be heard breaking wind and laughing as Prisk tests his body fat. Prisk told Sports Illustrated, quote, "It seemed just childish to me. I'm a doctor, and this man is farting in my face." Katie Johnston for KDKA News.
Oh my gosh. He said you could hear it on the audio. So, like, I don't know if he has like surveillance cameras in like the waiting room or whatever, but he said it can be heard on camera. Farty in the doctor's face. Oh my. Oh. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, now on to more serious stuff. So most people know about Deshaun Watson. He was the Houston, or was he with the Texans? Yeah, the Houston Texans. And then he ended up getting allegations against him for inappropriate behavior with his massage therapist. So we'll take a look at that next. Not quite as comical.
Tonight, another
Oh no!
woman is sharing.
First, the whole reason that I thought of Deshaun Watson was because Justin Tucker was just recently, like within the last couple of weeks, accused of inappropriate behavior at massage parlors in the Baltimore area. He supposedly has been actually banned from some of them. So supposedly this is something that's been going on for a really long time. So we'll look at Justin Tucker first, and then we'll go back to the history of Deshaun Watson and the allegations against him. Justin Tucker first.
Sharing her story of what she calls inappropriate sexual behavior involving Ravens kicker Justin Tucker. She's at least the 10th person to come out with similar allegations against that kicker, and Ravens fans say these claims leave them shocked.
They're just allegations right now, and I hope that if he did do it, the due process happens, and I feel sorry for his victims.
And tonight we're looking into the Baltimore Sun's new reporting on the latest alleged victim coming forward. Although the season is over, the talk about Ravens kicker Justin Tucker is just beginning.
I have 3 daughters, and I would want my daughters to come forward.
According to our media partners at the Baltimore Sun, another woman has alleged inappropriate sexual behavior at the hands of the kicker from back in 2015.
Victims are scared to come forward, and if you are a woman that has been assaulted, it's very sad.
According to the Baltimore Sun, the 37-year-old, now living in West Virginia, claims she gave Tucker massages at a Baltimore spa and salon at the Ritz-Carlton residence. Then later at the barbershop and spa known as GQ in downtown Baltimore. The accuser says over the course of time, Tucker exposed himself and even on one occasion touched her in her thigh.
I feel like sometimes you feel like, you're famous, it's your city, you own it, you feel like you can just do whatever. So like this is showing you like you just can't do anything to anybody, no matter who you are.
Tucker, who's now facing at least.
Yeah, you can't do anything to anybody. I'm trying to figure out. You shouldn't do anything to anybody. Guess it was just worded awkwardly for me. But here's his statement. I did not act inappropriately at any point before, during, or after a professional bodywork treatment session. Would never intend to offend or hurt anyone. I would never intend. That's a Sarah Boone word that bothers me. I would never intend to offend or hurt anyone, but for the sake of myself and my family, I cannot allow false claims to go unchallenged. I cannot be any clearer. These allegations are false and incredibly hurtful to both me and, more importantly, my family. There are a couple of wording things in there that bug me about his response, but
At least 9 allegations that allegedly occurred between 2012 and 2016 has categorically denied the allegation.
The accused always enjoys the presumption of innocence.
Sports agent Doug Eldridge weighing in.
The onus is on the massage parlors to substantiate these allegations. And I think this is the beginning and it's far from the end, but it's important to remember that allegations are not charges and charges are not convictions.
While no criminal charges have been filed against Tucker, the NFL says they're investigating these allegations. For Ravens fans, it's a touchy situation.
And when you're a victim of sexual assault.
oh, was that a pun there? He just said for Ravens fans, it's a touchy situation.
There's some shame and some embarrassment that comes with that, and there shouldn't be, because you are the victim.
So let's see how this goes, plays out in the court of law and things like that, because you never know if people could be out to get him or something like that. Somebody's trying to defame him.
And the Ravens issued a statement Thursday saying they take any allegations of this nature seriously and will continue to monitor the situation. As we said, the NFL is investigating, and Tucker could face discipline under the league's personal conduct policy.
Speaking of discipline under the league's personal conduct policy,
these women say the level of abuse massage therapists face is out of control.
This is the Deshaun Watson case. So I'm going to let this play out. It's only 2 minutes long, but it's a good summary of the beginning of the case against Deshaun Watson.
It literally ran out of the room.
Professional massage therapist Perrin Schilling says it never stops.
I have had men completely take off their sheets during the massage and asked for sexually gratifying acts to be done. You're always thinking, am I the closest person to the door? Am I able to get out quickly?
Jessica Kern says one experience with a client was so sexually inappropriate, it took her 10 years to recover.
We expect that we're going to be able to help people, and we never expect somebody to come in and be inappropriate or making an unwanted sexual advance. So it is so shocking.
The statistics are startling. According to one recent survey, 64% of female massage therapists say they've been the victims of unwanted advances by clients. Both women are speaking out in the wake of allegations against Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson.
Watson on the move.
22 massage therapists have come forward to say he acted inappropriately with them, including groping and other acts of touching. Ashley Solis is the first woman to bring a lawsuit against Watson.
We were all deceived into thinking Deshaun Watson was a good guy. And unfortunately, we know that good guys can do terrible things.
Watson denies the allegations. His lawyer, Rusty Hardin, spoke out today.
Never at any time, under any circumstances, just as Letitia said, did this young man ever engage in anything that was not mutually desired by the other party. What we witnessed here is a new model for extortion.
Why do you think this happens?
It's a joke in pop culture. The line is blurred frequently between massage therapy and sex work. It can be really hard.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best point that I've heard so far, is that line is blurred often between massage work and sexual acts. And we giggle about it at work and at the water cooler, talking to our, I mean, especially when you're in a guy's environment, like in my industry, it's almost all guys, and
yeah,
you giggle about it, laugh about it, make jokes. But we're going to see at the end of this video thing how in Lafayette, Indiana, little old Lafayette, Indiana, it's not a joking matter.
Well, and I think a lot of the massage parlors that do take part in that type stuff, because they are out there, they just gave the rest a bad reputation and name as well. And then they expect it from other, reputable businesses, because a lot of these athletic guys, they have massage therapists on the teams.
We've been waiting for days to find out where Deshaun.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cover you up there.
Yeah, I'm just saying, these NFL teams, they have medical staffs, and I'm sure massage therapy is probably part of the protocol for a lot of them.
Right. Well, even, I mean, if you go back to Peyton Manning had an accusation against him at University of Tennessee before he was ever drafted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he one of the physical trainer ladies. So he was in the hot tub after practice or something like that, and the physical trainer lady, she wasn't even a masseuse, she was just a physical trainer lady, made accusations against him, and I think they may have settled out of court on that. I don't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure that they settled out of court on that after he got drafted into the NFL.
Oh, probably did, and she probably signed an NDA.
Yep. So anyway, 25-ish accusations against Deshaun Watson. And in the middle of those accusations, they haven't been settled yet. He hasn't received his disciplinary action from the NFL yet. He gets traded to the Cleveland Browns from the Houston Texans and signs this massive $230 million fully guaranteed contract. Fully guaranteed means he doesn't have to step foot on the field one single time to make $230 million.
And I'm sorry, but these NFL players are way overpaid. They are not that valuable. I'm not into football. I think it's a strange game anymore. There's so much money involved and politics involved with it, and you got all these guys doing bad things to their wives and doing this and doing that, and this guy doing this, but yet here he is with a multi-million-dollar contract to go out and play a game.
While the allegations and disciplinary actions are still pending, the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimmy Haslam is the owner of the Browns. He's the one that made this deal, approved this deal.
He got to take that money that he's making, all that money he could probably never spend. Well, you probably could if you're one of those people, but do good with it now. If you're blessed enough in life to work in a job or a career that you make that type of money, you should absolutely give back. That's just my opinion. I would be.
And there are a lot of guys
in funny.
There are a lot of guys in the NFL that do. There's
They
something
are.
that's called
Yeah,
Walter
you're
Payton
right.
Man of the Year award.
Yeah, they are, and I love to see the ones that actually do care and do give back. Shit, what's his name? Dallas Cowboy football player he's from my hometown. Oh my God, I can't even think of his name now, but he played years ago. Emmett Smith. Emmett Smith graduated Escambia High School in Pensacola, Florida. He went on, to become a Dallas Cowboy football player. This guy, man, people got bad things to say about him. He kind of just like, I don't know, he tried to come back and do community stuff, but then it's like he got really weird. He's like, nah. Roy Jones, the boxer, has done a lot for our community. A lot. We have to give that guy credit where credit is due. But you're right. Some of them do really good things with all that money. And that's good to see.
To talk about Baker Mayfield. So Deshaun Watson gets traded to the Browns, $230 million guaranteed. And his career as a Cleveland, first of all, he has to face his disciplinary action from the league. I think that's the next video.
Tonight, Cleveland Browns star quarterback Deshaun Watson's fate sealed by the NFL. He will sit out the season's first 11 games without pay, is being fined $5 million, and must commit to mandatory evaluation and treatment. This after 24 women filed lawsuits against Watson for sexual misconduct in massage appointments. All but one settled, and grand juries twice declined to indict him criminally. He maintains he did nothing wrong.
I've always stood on my innocence and always said that I've never assaulted anyone or disrespected anyone, and I'm continuing to stand on that. But at the same time, I have to continue to push forward my life and my career.
Earlier this month, an independent disciplinary officer found the allegations of nonviolent sexual conduct Watson faced were more egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL. She suspended him for 6 games, a punishment some thought was too lenient. The league appealed the 6-game suspension, paving the way for today's settlement.
People deserve second chances. Is he never supposed to play again? Is he never supposed to be part of society?
That's Jimmy Haslam, the Cleveland Browns owner, that agreed to the $230 million guaranteed over 5 years.
Okay. So
he has his own scandal. It's not a sexual scandal. Go ahead.
No, I don't. I was waiting on you. I don't know much about his scandal, but I do know there's something. But so he did face some disciplinary actions, but he's still playing football and got a multi-million-dollar contract, right?
Well, he's not still playing football because he got injured at the end of the year this year. He did sit out the first 11 games.
Karma.
We're
Reared that ugly head.
Yeah, in a couple of videos, we're going to hear from some Cleveland Browns fans who are really happy with him. But Jimmy Haslam is also the owner of the Pilot Flying J fuel center franchise, which is probably how he made his money to pay Deshaun Watson $230 million. But there were some videos that said, there was an FBI investigation into Pilot Flying J, and they discovered that they were screwing some of the trucking companies out of rewards points. So if you buy so much fuel from Pilot Flying J, you're supposed to reward people. And apparently they were screwing people out of that. And if you're a trucking company that owns a fleet and you get screwed out of a few $100s per truck per year, I mean, that adds up. So
yeah. Good morning, Firefly. Welcome in.
They reached a settlement on that, but then there were also some audio recordings of executive meetings where there were also some very racial things said and also some derogatory things about Cleveland and the Cleveland Browns and Cleveland Browns fans. So not a lot came out of that I know of. But anyway, he's had his own scandals to deal with.
Does he get no chance to rehabilitate himself? And that's what we're going to do, okay? And you could say, well, that's because he's a star quarterback. Well, of course.
In addition to Watson's $5 million fine, the NFL and Browns will each be making $1 million donations to groups working to combat sexual misconduct and violence. Watson's first game back will be in Houston against his former team, the Texans.
Thanks for watching our YouTube.
To First Take this afternoon regarding the Deshaun Watson.
So he just proclaimed his innocence an independent private investigator for the NFL found that it's the most egregious nonviolent sexual misconduct she's ever witnessed. He was suspended for the first 11 games of that first season with the Browns. Now we're going to see where the civil lawsuits are being settled.
Situation. So we've just heard from the accuser's lawyer. That would be Tony Busby putting out the statement. I'm going to read part of it to you right
turn
now.
the volume up.
Today, I announced that all cases against Deshaun Watson, with the exception of 4, have settled. We are working through the paperwork and related to those settlements. Once we have done so, those particular cases will be dismissed. The terms and amounts of those settlements will remain confidential, and we won't comment further on the settlements of those cases. As stated, Ashley Solis is one of the heroes of this story. Her case has not settled, and thus her story and that of the other 3 brave women will continue. I look forward to trying these cases in due course, consistent with other docket obligations and the court's schedule. Okay, Marcus Spears, your reaction to the latest here from Tony Busby, the accuser's lawyer, that most of the cases have settled here, except those 4.
Yeah, one is 4 cases left. That's my first reaction. The other one is, I wonder how much this plays into the decision that the NFL is going to make about whatever punishment it would be. Would this have any credence on them determining?
Oh, I guess this was the settlement was before his 11-game suspension. Okay, I got him out of order. My bad.
In a time or a length that Deshaun Watson is out for the season. But ultimately, Molly Q, settlements, cases still left, it's still convoluted. It's still a lot of things that you have to work through. And I know that like throughout the course of this whole situation, you try to determine victories, and there's no victories here. There's only losses. There's only losses in this particular situation. So as far as moving forward, as far as what's going to happen NFL league-wise, I can speak to that because I don't know the particulars of each and every case. I know it's a lot of them, and I know settlements mean that you reach some kind of agreement saying something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't want to get into those particulars because I don't know them, but ultimately the NFL needs to do something. They need to determine something, and this may be a part of their determining factor. So that's
Yeah, he made valid points. Although it's not necessarily true that a settlement means you have to admit fault. Like even in some court cases, in legal cases, you can plead no contest, which means I'm not admitting I'm guilty, but I can't fight the charges. So it may have been like a no contest type of private settlement where he's like, all right, I pay you a bunch of money, but I'm not going to admit I did anything. Because he did stand up in front of the cameras in the previous video and say, I'm maintaining my innocence. I don't think he said I'm not guilty of these charges. I think he said I'm maintaining my innocence, which is also tricky wordery.
Right now, Watson is trash.
So these are the Browns' reactions. They just got beat by the Dallas Cowboys at home. And this is their commentary on how Deshaun Watson has been playing for them. This is pretty funny.
Right now, Watson is trash until you show something. Watson, you're trash.
We paying you all this money to do that? That's not acceptable.
Right. I would love to have Flacco right now. Where is he? Is he busy?
We're the sport jacket, the Cowboys. I'm gonna burn this Watson jersey. Go ahead, put that on the news.
I mean, I still have hope. I have hope, but
I don't got no hope as long as Deshaun Watson's my quarterback.
We need to go downfield. We need a better quarterback. Baker boiled out today. I know nobody wants to hear that.
You want to put the stadium in Brook Park, right? What is it gonna come with? What level of sadness you want to pick? Would you like to cry? Would you like tears with that? We're tired of it.
Their offensive line is bad. Watson, he's like Brandon Weeden, but slightly faster.
Deshaun Watson is one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever had. And as Browns fans, we've seen a lot of bad quarterback play.
Did you hear what she just said? She said Deshaun Watson is one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever had. They have had a lot of quarterbacks in Cleveland. A lot. Like, I think they've been through like 18 starting quarterbacks in the last 10 years or something ridiculous.
I wouldn't know.
But he's also the highest paid quarterback they've ever had. So they're getting their
He
money's
couldn't have
worth.
been that bad. Jesus.
He is. He is. He has been.
You mean they
I've been
pay
to that.
people top dollar to be bad? Shit, maybe I should play football.
You're not kidding. Should start practicing your place kicking.
Nah, I'm good.
That was a pretty sad game.
We're Cleveland. We don't like Deshaun Watson.
Hey, I like Deshaun. I just think he needs some reps. I know a lot of people are down on him, but I'm going to stand behind him.
Hopefully figure out a way to get him out of his contract so that we don't have to do a cap hit and then find someone new. Maybe we can draft someone or do something else.
The play calling, terrible. Deshaun looked terrible. Everybody looked terrible.
Well, we were thinking about Tom Brady was in town covering his first game. He was trying to see excellence. Cleveland, we're trying to show him excellence, but we got to go out there. We got to work harder.
Hard to watch. Very hard to watch.
Just like Deshaun Watson needs to start getting better. O-line too. And Nick Chubb will be back soon, so that'll help.
Horrible QB play. I mean, seriously, Watson got to stop holding onto the ball so much.
Deshaun Watson was really, really bad, and the Browns need help. Deshaun Watson's trash.
Yeah, the fact that he throws the ball closer to the stands than the field. I'm pretty disappointed in that one.
Damn, they're pretty critical, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Cleveland Browns fans are pretty jaded, and them paying $230 million for a less than mediocre quarterback who had to sit out his first 11 games and came back and hasn't done anything since. Yeah,
I take this football stuff seriously, man.
yeah, and I'm only spending this much time on it because the Super Bowl's tomorrow, and football fans are interesting to me, and Browns fans especially are super passionate about their team, and right now they're passionately unhappy about their team and their quarterback.
The most disappointing is the build up to the whole year where you come into the season, it's the first home game, and you lay a big egg. That's tough.
Next week on the Jacksonville.
There's always next year.
Crap. Go back. These buttons are jumping around too much. All right, so now we're going to get into Robert Kraft. And Robert Kraft is the owner of the Patriots. And he is like one of the wealthiest men in North America. Like, he has more money than professional athletes because he pays professional athletes. But he's an older gentleman, I guess you could say would be the polite way to say it. And he has all kinds of options. I think he has a hot young wife, if I remember right. But this happened a couple of years ago where he was down in West Palm Beach during the AFC playoffs, or right before the AFC playoffs, because that would have been when New England was hosting. So he was down in Florida before he flew up to New England, and he got caught in a sting. Oh, turn off mute.
Against Robert Kraft and the 24 other men.
Back up, let's hear
The state attorney here in Palm Beach County upped the charges against Robert Kraft and the 24 other men swept up in this investigation to a first-degree misdemeanor. If convicted on those charges, it carries a harsher penalty, including up to 100 hours of classes learning about the evils of human and sex trafficking, as well as up to a year in jail.
This morning, Robert Kraft is back in Boston. The New England Patriots owner seen hugging his star quarterback, Tom Brady, after.
So he gets arrested in a sting operation at a massage parlor in West Palm Beach, and he lands his jet, and Tom Brady comes and gives him a big hug.
Well,
yeah.
Tom
after
Brady's
they
wife
flew
is
home from Los
intriguing.
Angeles Monday.
She's what?
Tom Brady's wife is intriguing.
Yes,
I didn't say that. Okay.
Yes.
On Kraft's private jet.
We are charging 25 individuals with soliciting another to commit prostitution.
Prosecutors in Florida now charging Kraft with 2 misdemeanor counts of first-degree solicitation of prostitution.
I can assure you that our office treats everyone the same, whether you have a lot of money or you are indigent. We treat all defendants the same, and no one gets any special justice in Palm Beach County.
Investigators releasing graphic new details of Kraft's 2 alleged sexual encounters at the Orchids of Asia Day Spa. Everything police say recorded on as many as 5 surveillance cameras. One of Kraft's alleged visits the morning of the AFC Championship game. Detectives say Kraft documented on video engaging in a sex act, handing over a $100 bill and another bill, and then leaving in a chauffeured Bentley waiting outside. If convicted, the billionaire and 24 others named in the investigation could face up to a year in jail. Kraft could also face penalties from the NFL. The organization issuing a statement Monday saying in part, our personal conduct policy applies equally to everyone in the NFL. We will handle this allegation in the same way we would handle any issue under the policy. Kraft's Florida lawyer not responding Monday when asked to comment, but last week a spokesman saying Kraft denied any illegal activity. Now this high-profile case bringing national attention to the issue of human trafficking. The National Human Trafficking Hotline says Florida ranks behind only California and Texas in the number of cases reported, last year receiving more than 14,000 calls nationwide.
This is not about lonely old men or victimless crimes. This is about enabling a network of criminals to traffic women into our country.
Did you catch that? I'm going to play that one once again for the people in the back. This isn't about lonely old men or 2 consenting adults.
Traffic women into our country for forced labor and sex.
Wait, a lawyer
enabling a network of
nationwide.
This is not about lonely old men or victimless crimes. This is about enabling a network of criminals to traffic women into our country for forced labor and sex.
A lawyer representing other men caught up in this investigation has filed with the court saying that the police videotape, which is key evidence, was obtained legally. Craig, without that evidence, if a court were to decide it was obtained illegally, this case could very well fall apart.
Uh-oh. I got to mute out for a minute. I had to drive to the corner store
Randy
and
and
I
Antoine.
brought you guys with me. So I'll be right back.
Okay. We just heard some foreshadowing right there. The very last thing that prosecutor said, or that it was the narrator, the news narrator guy said,
yeah,
if that evidence was not obtained legally, then the case could fall apart. And imagine a billionaire is one of the defendants in this case. What's going to happen with that evidence?
right.
Antoinette, this is considered a major victory for Robert Kraft, a judge ruling that the video should be tossed out. That video allegedly showing Kraft paying for sex inside a Florida day spa. The ruling finds that detectives used, the warrant that detectives used to set up cameras had what the judge described as serious flaws. The recordings inside the Jupiter spa violated the privacy of other people who were getting legitimate massages, according to the judge. Now, without the video, the information derived afterwards when police stopped Kraft in his vehicle outside the spa is also tossed out. The ruling is a legal victory for Kraft and possibly the other 24 defendants in the case.
Anybody else that has evidence in their case based on a similar affidavit, a similar search warrant, they are doing handstands today because of this ruling in the Bob Kraft case.
Kraft's attorneys are now expected to file for a dismissal of the entire case. Now, prosecutors can choose to appeal the ruling, continue with the case, or drop the charges altogether. Dismissal, though, may not help Kraft's situation with the NFL because its code of conduct has some higher standards.
Well, I guess if you're going to get busted in a massage parlor sting, you might as well get busted with a billionaire and have his attorneys fight your case at the same time. Good grief. Yeah, one more on this case, one more on Robert Kraft, and then we're going to get into the one in Lafayette. And I wanted to wrap up these videos with the Robert Kraft case because there is discussion about how it supports human trafficking, how this behavior supports human trafficking.
This is Michael Waddington here with the Military Law News Network. And today I'm joined by Tim Bilecki, and we're going to be discussing the Robert Kraft case. If you don't know the background, he's the owner of the New England Patriots that was accused of receiving sexual acts in a massage parlor in Florida on 2 separate occasions. Tim, the news just recently reported that the judge has suppressed the videotapes, the evidence of him allegedly in the massage parlor, which dealt a devastating blow to the prosecution's case. At the same time, the 2 women that were the ones giving the supposed massages and sex acts are refusing to testify. They're pleading the fifth and invoking. How do you see this playing out in the future for the prosecution if the 2 witnesses won't testify? Obviously, Kraft did not make a statement. He's not going to testify. And the judge suppressed the videotape evidence.
Well, Mike, I've got a lot of strong feelings on this. First off, this wouldn't be international news or at least national news if it wasn't for Robert Kraft. This is absurd, the fact that this makes CNN and makes Fox News and makes MSNBC, and it was a headline for a while. And then they started saying, oh, there's all of this human trafficking that's involved in this, when the fact of there was never any evidence of that. So this got spun out of proportion by the fake news and making it something it really wasn't. The second is the prosecution's in trouble, because the 2 witnesses who allegedly did the sex acts, it looks like they're refusing to testify. And now they were going to use the video surveillance. And the judge made what I believe to be the right call, is going to suppress it, saying that an individual has a reasonable expectation of privacy. And
yeah, I'm done with that guy. I'm done with that interview. I didn't look into that enough before I played that. That was an interesting perspective. But I think the key part of that I was interested in is the fact that the girls that were in the massage parlor that were involved in the illicit activity, the alleged illicit activity, pled the fifth and refused to testify. So if they're going to do that.
What's up with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we can transition now to the case in Lafayette where there was a massage parlor busted a couple of weeks ago. Actually, there were 2 defendants associated with 2 massage parlors, one in Lafayette and one in Kokomo, that were busted. And the victims in that case, there were 2 victims from each parlor that were rescued. That's what the article says. They were rescued from those situations. And they did not refuse to testify. They were willing to talk to law enforcement. So we'll start at the beginning of that so I can bring you guys up to speed on that. Yeah, you're right, USA. I'm sure the sting was against the actual establishment originally, and they just caught people in there. I don't know how they got cameras inside the actual massage rooms. That was interesting to me. Did they get a warrant for that? Was it a valid warrant? I think that was part of the legal basis. All right. Here we go. Here's the news article on this. I couldn't find any video articles. All I could find was text articles. So here's the Lafayette Journal and Courier. And for those of you who don't know where Lafayette is, if you're familiar with the Delphi case, it's about 25 miles south of Delphi. It's the biggest town closest to Delphi. And then Kokomo is about an hour east, directly due east of Lafayette. You can take 26 from Lafayette to Kokomo in a little over an hour, I think. Lafayette massage parlor owners charged with sex trafficking, human trafficking. A 14-page probable cause affidavit, which we're going to look at here in a little bit, details allegations of how Yang Yu and Aru Wang operated massage parlors as a front for human trafficking. Yu, 39, lives in Carmel. Wang lives in Zionsville. Both of those cities are like north suburbs of Indianapolis. They're just outside of 465 Loop. But here's the important part. The raids resulted in freeing 4 women working inside the businesses. According to prosecutors, they were provided victim advocate services, shelter, and support to ensure their safety, police said last week. A lot of times you see where they're arrested as well. So they weren't in this case, which I think they were considered human trafficking victims, and they were treated as such. And I think that is a good evolution of our law enforcement handling of these cases, to treat them as victims and not as criminals themselves. You was charged with corrupt business influence, theft, money laundering, promoting sexual trafficking, human trafficking, promoting prostitution, and 4 counts of failure to remit taxes held in trust. Wang is charged with corrupt business influence, theft, money laundering, promoting sexual trafficking, human trafficking, prostitution, and 3 counts of failure to remit taxes held in trust. Oh, don't fail to pay your taxes, or the Department of Revenue is going to be on you. The women who prosecutors said worked for Wang and Yu also were forced to live in the massage parlors and pay rent to stay there. The women, who are Asian, described responding to an online advertisement to work in the United States in the massage therapy business. Once in New York, their passports were taken. Oh, so they get to New York, and whoever is trafficking them takes their passports and says you can't get them back till you go.
Right. That's not good.
The women did not receive money for the massage other than tips. They received, the girls often were rotated out of the parlors. We're going to see that in the PCA. And several times police saw you taking women to Indianapolis Airport. Inside the check-in, the women were escorted by men to their gate. You and Wayne both are incarcerated at the Tippecanoe County Jail in lieu of $500,000 bond. And I'm pretty sure their assets and bank accounts have probably all been seized. All right.
Oh, I'm sure they have, right?
I'm sure they have. Let's see what the TV article was. I think 18 is almost the same article. But it shows the actual spa in Lafayette, Royal Massage. 4 victims rescued, 11-month investigation. Lafayette police carried out search warrants at 2 massage parlors. Wait, Lafayette carried out a search warrant in Kokomo? I don't think so. That was probably ISP. William Glover, here we go. A member of a state trafficking organization, explained that his mission is to raise awareness about the growing presence of trafficking cases in communities across Indiana. As a whole, we have to remove the stigma that our towns are too small for it to be effective, when in fact that may be a drawing factor to it. Interesting, because that's how I've always seen Lafayette, is like too small of a town for that type of stuff. And in the Midwest, surrounding business owners declined to comment on the case. All right. Not a whole lot of new stuff on that. So we're going to get to the PCA, I do believe. Where are we at? PCA. Stand by 1 second, guys. I've got a PCA. I swear I do. Daily charges. Wonder if I closed it out. I did. I closed it out. So I got to open it back up. There we go. PCA is 14 pages long. It's going to be too long for us to get into in its entirety, but it is a public record. So if anybody is interested in reading the full thing, I can share it. All right. So filed January 29th. So barely a week and a half ago. Affidavit of probable cause. The affiant is an investigating officer. They don't list his name till the very end. Let's look at his name at the very end. Detective Lieutenant Dan Long. And I don't even know what agency he's with. Is he with the city of Lafayette? He's probably with the Lafayette Police Department. The affiant has been involved in and conducting an investigation into the business practices of the owners of Royal Massage and the Kokomo Massage parlors operating in Tippecanoe County and Howard County in the state of Indiana, respectively. So Howard County is 2 counties over from Tippecanoe County. Clinton County is in between. The investigation uncovered the owners are believed to be filing fraudulent income tax returns. There you go. The revenuers. Don't piss off the revenuers because they're coming after you. Like that was back in the Prohibition days. The moonshiners wouldn't get busted for making moonshine. They would get busted for not paying their taxes on their income from their moonshine. That's why they didn't like the revenuers. That's how we got the stock car racing, because they'd race away from the revenuers in their cars.
Hey, I know about some stock car racing now. I'm your girl.
Yeah, isn't that how it got started though? Like back in the Prohibition days? Was
Yes.
moonshiners
moonshine.
running from revenuers? Yeah.
Running moonshine. The faster those cars would go, the better off you were. And boom, NASCAR was born.
Yeah. Owners are believed to be filing fraudulent income tax returns and other documents under penalties of perjury, which would constitute the crimes of perjury and or forgery based upon the training and experience of auditor. So the Indiana Department of Revenue Special Investigation Auditor Carol Bryant Buckholz. The discrepancy between the owner's bank accounts and the income tax filing supports the findings that cash collected from services in the businesses does not appear to be documented nor reported accurately to the Indiana Department of Revenue. Do not keep their money from them. And also, sales tax was not remitted to the Department of Revenue on the undocumented and unreported sales, which constitutes the crime of failure to collect or remit taxes to the state and or theft. You're stealing from the state. Do not steal money from the state.
No, they don't like that, do they?
No, they do not.
But they're okay with taking our money.
In January of 2024, Affiant was conducting follow-up investigation on several citizen complaints regarding local businesses offering sexual services in exchange for United States currency. Okay, I got a question about that. How is there a citizen complaint that inside of a private massage room, there's money exchanging hands for sexual services? How does a citizen complain about that? If you don't go in, I mean, I guess maybe somebody could go in and complain about it, but
if they would, yeah,
civil.
I mean, if you, okay, so what if you witnessed something like that or became aware it was happening?
Yeah, that could happen. It's just, it's worded funny to me. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because it's leading to a positive outcome in this case of the rest of some very bad people that are engaging in human and sexual trafficking. So I'm just, the wording of that from a legal aspect is a little questionable to me.
Oh my gosh, there's so many weird legal phrases and wording and documents that you go like, what? You know?
Right. Which is why Judge Diener helped Tony Liggett write his probable cause affidavit in Delphi. Got to get those legal phrases right. Anyway, we're not talking about that. You're going to talk about that tomorrow on Salty Sunday, though, right?
We are. It's going to be a Salty Sunday, and we are discussing some new stuff that came down the pike in the Delphi case, some new documents. Documents backed up by documents.
And pictures too, right?
Yeah, there were a couple of photos that were dropped in. Nick McClellan did do some document drops, and there were pictures of Libby's phone in the drop. 3 different photos, just different angles of the phone. And there's a lot of chatter about that out there right now. I've invited a special guest on with us. I think she's confirmed, but we'll see. I'll set it up later. But anyway, yeah, we're going to do Delphi in the morning and go over the new documents that came in down and take a look at those photos and, see what we think about it. Have a conversation.
Good deal. I look forward to it. So anyway, during the investigations, Sergeant Rector and the affiant also conducted surveillance at Royal Massage and found a high level of male-only traffic in and out of the business throughout the day. Okay, well, I can tell you other stores that have a high level of male-only traffic, and there's nothing illegal going on there. But anyway, multiple male visitors to the business would park their car a distance away and approach the business on foot, often via an indirect route. All these are just circumstantial facts. Like they don't tell me there's definitely something going on illegal in there. I mean, is it sus? It's highly sus. But it doesn't rise, in my opinion, it doesn't rise to the level of even beyond a reasonable doubt that there's something illegal going on in there. So anyway, I've got to play devil's advocate. I can't resist the temptation to do it. Like I said before, and this is a disclaimer, there's some sexual graphic content in here. I've got that little disclaimer running on the bottom, so that's covering my butt, right? But as I read through this, the caveat is that this appears to be a good arrest. These appear to be people engaging in some really destructive behavior, human trafficking, sexual trafficking, and I'm glad they're arrested. But while we read through the details of the probable cause affidavit, I'm going to look at it through the lens of objectivity with the knowledge that I've read through the whole thing, and I believe it was a good arrest, and I believe it's a good thing that these people are not going to operate their businesses anymore. Anyway, many men enter the business with their heads covered by hats or hoods while talking on cell phones or with their heads down. So yes, suspicious behavior, not illegal behavior. Starting in May 2024, the auditor of the Department of Revenue Special Investigation Unit reviewed state tax records, federal tax returns attached to state tax returns, records filed with the Indiana Secretary of State, and bank statements from the businesses and the personal accounts of the 2 arrested individuals. Therefore, Unispa Massage never remitted Indiana's sales tax as required during or after its operation. So no sales tax was gathered. Sun Spa Massage never remitted Indiana sales tax as required during or after its operation. So they're not submitting their sales tax as they're required to do. She reviewed their bank account records. So a personal account of one of them, a business account for Foot Massage, business account for Unispa, and an individual account for Diang Yu. As demonstrated in the chart below. All right, here we go. This is the big deal.
So all kinds of illegal activity, right?
Yes. Well, the big one is the discrepancies in their tax records, and we're gonna get a look at that. That's actually included in the form of a chart in the PCA, and I love this. This is like black and white right here. So this is for Diang Yu. This is one of the suspects, individual and business records. So their federal adjusted gross income reported on their Indiana tax return is right here on the bottom line of this top chart. Adjusted gross income, 12,000, 8,000, 33,000. So they brought in 61,000, had 47,000 expenses, 164, 155. $333,000 in gross receipts in 2023, and claiming almost $300,000 in expenses. So net income of $36,000. When your income has increased from $60,000 to $333,000 in 2 years. Interesting. So Look here at the bottom one, bank deposits, 35,000, 154,000, 295,000. So let's go to total business deposits, 78,000, 172,000, 432,000. Gross receipts from sole proprietorship. So there's a discrepancy. They calculated a discrepancy of what they deposited in their bank accounts and what they reported on their taxes. So in 2021, there's a $16,000 discrepancy. In 2022, there's only, quote unquote, only a $7,000 discrepancy. But in 2023, this one suspect has a $99,000, 364 discrepancy in what she reported on her taxes versus what her bank deposits were. Now, Iru Wang has something similar. Federal adjusted gross income reported 45, 57, 42, but bank deposits 58, 91, 206. So discrepancy that goes from $6,600 to $13,000 to $145,000 between what they reported on their taxes and what their bank deposits were. So that was the forensic financial investigation. And clearly the amount of money they were putting in the bank grew a lot more than what they reported on their taxes, clearly. But now we're going to get into the human trafficking side of it, the human trafficking investigation. And this is the part that's very detailed and it has some graphic stuff in it too. I don't think I've highlighted any of the graphic stuff, but this is the evidence that law enforcement is presenting that actual human trafficking is going on. So the affiant and other officers with the Lafayette Police Department conducted surveillance on multiple occasions between June and December of 2024. License plate reading cameras. I didn't know we had those in Lafayette. Place either use or Wang's vehicles in Lafayette approximately every 3 days. So they lived down on the north suburbs of Indianapolis and they came to Lafayette approximately every 3 days. During said surveillance, DeYang Yu and Wang were observed at Royal Massage. That's the picture we saw on Sagamore Parkway South in Lafayette, unloading items such as bottled water and groceries, dropping off and picking up Asian females to work in the business, and retrieving mail from the mailbox station in the business complex. Officers recognized Yu and Wang from photographs obtained by the BMV in the month of June of 2024. So that's when this investigation was just beginning. License plate reading cameras show Yu's vehicle and Wang's vehicle visit the Kokomo area 14 times in total and the Lafayette area 9 times in June of 2024. Between May 17th and July 5th, systems further showed Wang and Yu's vehicles traveled to the Indianapolis International Airport a combined total of 9 times. So that's in a little over a month and a half, 7 weeks. In 5 of those trips to the airport, their vehicle either goes directly to or comes directly from the Kokomo or Lafayette area. On June 25th of 2024, Yu's vehicle, at the time a black Dodge Ram, was observed parking in front of the Kokomo Massage by an Indiana Department of Revenue officer. So the Department of Revenue had these places staked out. Holy cow. It wasn't just Lafayette PD.
Yeah, they're investigating that money trail. Remember the tax stuff and all that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Multi-agency investigation. Multi-agency investigation.
Yeah. Yu's vehicle travels to Kokomo area approximately once every 4 days. His vehicle, Yu is a he and Wang is a she. I got them mixed up. His vehicle travels to the Lafayette area at least once every 10 days. His vehicle also travels to the Indianapolis International Airport approximately once every 10 days. Wang's vehicle, that's her, travels to Kokomo approximately once every 7 days. Her vehicle travels to Lafayette approximately once every 7 days. Her vehicle also travels to the Indianapolis International Airport approximately once every 3 weeks. What are you going to the airport for once every 3 weeks? On June 17, 2024, used Dodge Ram was captured by license plate readers entering Lafayette at 9:38 a.m. Affiant established surveillance at Royal Massage and observed that you had already arrived. Affiant observed you exit the employee door of the business at 9:59 a.m. He got in the driver's seat, and an Asian female carrying several bags got into the passenger seat. You leaves. I hate when they change tenses. They're in past tense, and all of a sudden, you leaves the business. No, you left the business. Anyway, sorry. With the female at 9:59 a.m. You was captured on the license plate readers at Indianapolis International Airport at 10:59 a.m. Yes, it takes exactly an hour to get from Lafayette to Indianapolis International Airport. I've done it more times than I can count. Unless you get a flat tire on I-65, and then that can delay things a little bit. DeYang Yu left the airport approximately 2 p.m. So he was there at 11 in the lanes for departure. Yes, in the traffic lanes for departure, you still have to go through security checkpoint and all that. So he was there for 3 hours. So he was waiting for a plane to come in. He left the airport approximately 2 p.m. and returned to Royal Massage at 4:30 p.m. Affiant observed you entered the employee door being followed by a different Asian female pulling luggage behind her. Wang, the female, was observed at Royal Massage beginning at approximately 3 p.m. At 4:30 p.m., you and Wang exit the business and have a discussion on the sidewalk. You then left the business at approximately 5 p.m., but Affiant observed multiple unknown males enter and exit the business while you and Wang were there. Based on Affiant's training and experience, this appears to corroborate online reviews which discuss girls or employees being new. Affiant is aware from training and experience that victims in human trafficking often live inside the business and offenders rotate victims to avoid detection by law enforcement. Affiant was notified by license plate reading cameras that Wang's Jeep was entering the Lafayette area on September 30th of 2024. After a trip to the bank, you and Wang drove to the Royal Massage, arriving at 3:45 p.m. A young Asian female exits, change of tense again, the back seat of the Jeep carrying a bag with a monkey on it. You helps her into the employee entrance of Royal Massage. Wang and you then carry multiple items from the back of the Jeep into Royal Massage, including 2 bulk-sized packages of Kleenex that each contain 10 individual boxes of Kleenex, a large bag of rice, bulk packages of eggs, and other items in grocery bags. Affiant discovered the used white Nissan was captured on license plate reading cameras at the international airport at 2:05 the same day. So it goes down to the airport, picks up one of the workers, comes back, goes to the bank, and then they probably go to the grocery store sometime in there. More surveillance, a new white Range Rover. Oh, I didn't highlight this. She purchased a new white Range Rover. So she traded up from the Dodge Ram to a white Range Rover. Well, that'll happen when your receipts go from 70,000 to 300,000 in 2 years. Yes, V, worker equals new victim. Agreed 100%. Yeah, they do really care about those unpaid taxes. And in this case, I mean, obviously it led to a further investigation. And I'm not sure if the investigation of the sex working establishment came first or if the Department of Revenue investigation came first, but they worked together and they did a good thing here.
One came out of the other, you can guarantee it.
Yeah. Yep. Affiant is aware the Indiana State Police conducted, so ISP is involved too. So ISP, Lafayette Police, Department of Revenue, we've got at least 3 agencies working on this. And I would guess if they're in Howard County, they're either working with Kokomo PD and or the Howard County PD as well, because they're not going to come in to a different agency and not tell them that they're conducting surveillance and conducting an investigation. Affiant is where ISP conducted surveillance on the Kokomo massage in September of 2024 and observed several Asian females appeared to be living and working in the building, and multiple men entered and exited the business throughout the day. Officers noted the business closed at approximately 10 p.m., and the females did not exit the building after the business closed, and the business opened the next morning when the females took out the trash. So they're living there, cooking there, eating there. That's got to be just a horrible, horrible condition. I mean, obviously there are worse. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's just horrible. You're just living there, basically a prisoner. And we're going to find out in a minute here why they're even more of a prisoner than you would think. On October 24th, 2024, an undercover officer, Detective Hudson with the ISP, posed as a customer at the Kokomo Massage. And then we get into areas about touchy-feely and her making gestures. Mia was his masseuse, asked Detective Hudson what he wanted and made a pulling down motion with both of her arms while mouthing the words boom, boom, which Detective Hudson interpreted to mean sexual intercourse. Detective Hudson asked the price and Mia stated $150. Detective Hudson declined the offer and the massage ended. He offered her a tip with the rest of the controlled buy money. He redressed and exited. On December 10th, 2024, Battleground Town Marshal Moyers. That's interesting. That's a little tiny town north of Lafayette, in between Lafayette and Delphi. I'm very familiar with the town of Battleground. That's where the Battle of Tippecanoe took place. Anyway, Battleground Town Marshal Moyers assisted in the investigation as an undercover officer at the Royal Massage. That's the one in Lafayette. Marshal Moyers has extensive training and experience as a law enforcement officer in sex crimes, including human trafficking. That's cool. I didn't know that about Marshal Moyers. Marshal Moyers is fluent in Mandarin, a dialect of the Chinese language, and has served as an interpreter in law enforcement and legal settings. Marshal Moyers arrived in an unmarked vehicle and entered the business. Inside the room, things happened between Marshal Moyers, very similar to the other ones, where he undressed, laid down, got touched, asked about what he wanted. They agreed to an amount, and he's like, nope, and gets up and gets dressed and leaves her a tip with the controlled money. A short time later, on December 17th, 2024, oh wait, the paragraph before that I didn't highlight, but there was another trip to the Indianapolis airport. Delta departures helped the female with her bags. She entered the airport alone and approached the Delta counter and met with a white male. The two then walked to TSA security as the white male pushed the female's luggage for her. So there was somebody in the airport escorting one of these victims.
Yeah, they probably have it prearranged to meet. Yeah, they have it prearranged for them to meet with whoever their handlers are going to be.
Yes. So there was a handler. That was a white male as a handler at the airport. A short time later, on December 17th, 2024, Marshal Moyers, that's Battleground Town Marshal Moyers, assisted in the investigation as an undercover officer. So he goes over to Kokomo, arrived at the business in an unmarked vehicle. Lily was his masseuse that time. Obviously, these are probably made up names, pseudonyms, whatever. Went to the massage room, more touchy-feely, more offers of more stuff. She actually said the F word in there, making a hip thrusting motion. And agreed on $150. And then he said, nope, and left. Do we know for sure he left? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. See, those are the jokes we make at the water cooler in an office, but this really is not a laughing matter. It really is not. But even like Hollywood makes jokes about this all the time.
Yeah, but these massage parlor things, though, have been going on for decades now. And like I told you before we were talking about this, there was a string of those that were busted here the same activity. And like you say, they want to come to America for a better life, and then they get here under false pretenses, and then they're forced into these massage parlors to be sex workers.
Yeah, and we're getting ready to see some comments from, or some statements from victims 1, 2, 3, and 4. Two from each massage parlor.
Yeah, V
On
says
January
there was
7th,
V
Go
says
ahead.
it was in Minnesota as well.
Yeah,
So I think
they're all over.
it became a thing. It became a good front for what they were doing, and it went unchecked for a long time until people started complaining.
Yeah, and they're everywhere when they're in Lafayette, Indiana. Like this is, to my knowledge, this is the biggest, most unique bust that I've ever seen of anything like this. I mean, obviously from time to time you get like prostitutes and escorts busted, but this is the first one that I can remember where a massage parlor has been busted for actual, anything more than a prostitution charge. So they did a really deep dive into this. They surveilled them for 9 months. They did financial forensic investigation, undercover work. He assisted in a second undercover operation, coming back to the Royal Massage in Lafayette. Asian female said her name was Joy. She gave him a hug. Oh, I saw you last month. Took him to a room. Agreed to a half-hour massage. Undressed, laid down. Got asked to party. Said the F word again. The price was $150. Oh, and more stuff went on in that paragraph. She actually, she exposed herself and then touched him and was like, come on, let's party. He declined. And then they got their search warrants and they conducted a search of her residence in Zionville and his residence in Carmel. Officers searched the residence of Wang in Zionsville and located her present on the residence with her juvenile son. During the search, they located a safe secured in the floor of her bedroom. Oh, wow. She had a safe in her bedroom. It contained multiple stacks of U.S. currency and documents belonging to her and her son, which included birth certificates and passports. They inventoried the cash and noted the stacks each contained between $2,000 and $3,000. In total, more than $93,000. The safe also contained 7 gold 1-ounce bars. What is she doing with gold bars? An online public search indicates each bar has an approximate
Gold
value.
bars? Gold bars? Damn.
Yes. 1-ounce gold bars worth about $2,700 each.
Good Lord.
She had 7 of them in her safe. So 7 times 27, $1,800 ish.
Some rich guy was
$18,000.
paying in gold bars. Damn.
No, I
I'm
think
in the
they were
wrong. I'm in the
converting her
wrong
cash.
line of works. Jesus. Sorry.
So I got to multiply that out. That's $19,000 plus the $93,000 in cash. So she had well over $100,000 in gold and cash. They also located a large quantity of tissues and cleaning supplies similar to the supplies used in Royal Massage and Kokomo Massage. Yes, Dizzy, convert cash to gold bars. It is much less traceable. That is, yep. Then officers searched the residence of Yu in Carmel and located him, adult female, adult male. During the search, officers searched a room on the second floor which appeared to belong to Yu. In the closet of the bedroom, officers located a backpack which contained multiple wallets. Interesting. One wallet contained 1 valid and 1 expired green card for Yu, one 1-ounce gold bar. So he had a gold bar also. A Chinese passport for him, a social security card for him, large stacks of U.S. currency. Officers inventoried the cash and noted each stack contained approximately $3,000 US. In total, approximately $23,000. So the woman is the one that had most of the money. I mean, he had $23,000. She had over $100,000. In a separate bedroom. Oh my gosh. In a separate bedroom. Are you listening? Officers located a black plastic bag containing a 5-gallon bag. A 5-gallon bag of packaged condoms. A 1-quart bag of packaged condoms was also located inside the residence. A 5-gallon bag of packaged condoms. At least they weren't. Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
A 5-gallon bag. I mean, come on. That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
You know what was going down if that's the case.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn.
Inside the attached garage, officers located dozens of massage tables, several foam mats, bedding pillows, lingerie, and business signs. Okay, here we get into the part where where the victims get rescued. Officers searched Foot Massage, doing business as Royal Massage, that's the one in Lafayette, and located 2 female employees inside the business and a male client. Ruh-roh. Officers located 1 female and the male client inside a massage room inside the business and observed the male was nude, lying on his back on the massage table. Wait, but it says wearing boxers. Okay, if you're wearing boxers, you're not nude. His lower body covered by a white towel. I'm going to go ahead and read this. I don't have it highlighted. Officers observed the female was dressed and had a used condom in her pocket. During a subsequent interview, the male client admitted. Oh, so he gets taken in. He caves. He folds. The male client admitted visiting the business for the purpose of seeking sexual services in exchange for money. Graphic warning. That's why I didn't highlight this. The male client admitted engaging in intercourse with the female and receiving oral from the female employee shortly before the officers arrived. And the male client stated he had paid $230 in cash for the activities beforehand. He admitted he has visited Royal Massage on several prior occasions for the same purpose and received similar services. Officers later located more than $9,000 in cash inside the business, along with a large number of condoms. She had the used condom in her pocket. What's up with that? Ugh. Like, did they knock on the door and they were like in the middle of stuff? Like when they came in the front door and they're like, oh, quick, hide it. Put everything away. Get your boxers on. Lay down, put a towel on. Yeah. All right. Then we go to the Kokomo Massage Parlor. Officers interviewed 2 female employees. Oh, wait. No. Okay, yes. Now we're getting into testimony from all 4 victims, 2 from Lafayette, 2 from Kokomo. Officers interviewed the 2 female employees from Royal Massage and 2 female employees from Kokomo Massage during the interviews with translators. Victims 1, 2, 3, and 4 provided similar information and responses to questions. They described seeing advertisements online. So this is how it starts. This is how they get to Lafayette, Indiana, or Minneapolis, or Columbus, or Louisville. They described seeing advertisements online to work in the United States for massage therapy. And so if they're seeing advertisements online to work in the United States, that's got to be back in China. They've got to be, those online advertisements have to be going on in China. Come work in the United States for massage therapy.
Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. They want to come here for a better life. They see these ads. They think, why not? And here they come. And then when they get here, it's not what they thought it was going to be. Then they're forced into this line of work.
Victims wanted to.
Remember, they got their passports taken once they got here.
Yeah, we're getting ready to see that, I do believe. They describe seeing advertisements online, victims 1 and 2 admitting to performing sex acts in exchange for money, and collecting cash from the clients before taking their cut and placing the cash on a desk located inside the business for the owners to retrieve. Victims 1 and 2 further advised they lived in the business, cooked their own meals inside the business, and periodically left the business to shop for groceries. They explained that they were charged $10 per day to live at the business. So they're in a room, probably sleeping on a mat, maybe a futon, paying $300 a month in a little tiny room.
Yeah, they're not getting set up with the good accommodations, you know, and
No,
all their
no.
money they're making is being taken from them.
Yep. They explained they were charged $10 a day to live at the business. Total rent was taken out of their pay by the owners at the end of the month.
They were
did
charged
not
to
let-
live there on top of it. Oh, good Lord. Some folks got nerve.
Well, they're sitting in jail with nerve now, thankfully. Victims 1 and 2 stated they did not otherwise leave the business unless they planned to quit employment and return to New York. So they were in that building 24/7, 365. Victims 1, 2, 3, and 4 indicated they intend to return to New York, and their passports were being held by one or more individuals in New York. So now we got to get the FBI involved, right? Because this is
crossing the state lines.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's somebody in New York that is holding on to their passports. How many passports are being held in New York for all of these victims? Like, is it thousands? It's got to be thousands. It's got to be in the thousands. I mean, there are 4 victims from 2 tiny cities in Indiana. You know, are there 20 of them in Indianapolis? Are there 1,000 of them in New York? Ah, that's it for the warrant, though. The PCA, probable cause affidavit. That's it's disturbing. It's very disturbing. We're going to have to have a little puppy video before we leave. I got to find me a puppy video. Charlie, come bring us out of this. All right, we did the swimming video last time. Oh, now we should walk. We should go for a walk on Flagler Beach. Let's see how long this walk is on Flagler Beach. Oh, it's 30-something seconds long. Oh, no, that's not Flagler Beach. This is in Mission Beach, California. This was a few years ago. This was in 2019, so this was 5 years ago. My son was living there, Ocean Beach, not Mission Beach. They're in Ocean Beach. And they actually have a dog park on the beach. So Charlie got to go wade in the water. He didn't do any swimming on this one, but he did wading in the water. That's how we'll wrap it up today. Bring us back to some good feels after that heavy stuff. Here we go. It's like, nope, getting a little deep, Dad. It's getting a little deep. All right, so that's that one. That's my Charlie video for today. That's what we'll wrap it up with.
We appreciate you sharing him with us. I know you miss him.
Yeah, it's therapeutic for me to be able to share him with all of you guys, though. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
it very much.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming
it
up.
helps.
Thank you for coming up to join me and
Oh,
talking
you're
about the
welcome.
random things we went over today.
Oh, you're
Thank you to
welcome.
everybody for joining us in chat.
Yep. You guys have a great Saturday, and I'll see you in the morning. If you're up and got your coffee, come over and join us on Salty Sunday, and we'll go over that Delphi stuff.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being in here. Thanks, Forrest. Thanks, Dizzy. Thanks, Rebecca and V. We will see
Thanks for
everybody
sharing
tomorrow on
the
Salty Sunday.
yeah, and Joe, thanks for sharing the stuff about Kohberger's family's property and stuff like that, and looking at all that. That was cool.
Sure.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.